Well, good evening. I'm Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. And tonight I want to talk about the events of my life that expanded me to where I'm at today. And that is, I stopped telling the stories about about the occurrences in my life. It started expressing about the events that expanded me to where I'm at today. And what I'm saying about that is stop telling the stories, because the stories keep you in the past. They may sound interesting to other people, but they keep you locked and blocked in the past. So if you start expressing the events and the experiences that expand your life or expand my life, you start appreciating and seeing the value in every event in your life, and it really opens you up to understanding and letting go of the past, and you start really experiencing the now. And so as I open up to this, I really allow myself to see the new in myself. And that also opens me up and allows me to show people the way I expanded my life. And the way I expanded my life will allow other people to expand their life and move their life forward. I grew up in South Dakota on a farm cattle operation in a small town about 16 miles west of Sioux Falls called White Lake, South Dakota. And as a kid growing up in a small town, I was envious of people who lived in the cities and the bigger places. But today, I am so grateful and so honored that I grew up in a small town, because it gave me a work ethic and allowed me to have fun that a lot of kids didn't. And growing up on a farm, you get to experience so much different. You get to actually express and open up your ingenuity and your omnific presence. It's a powerful creation is what omnific is. And that's what it allowed me. And as I was growing up and experiencing life, my parents, they were hard workers and they were very honest people. And they give me a work ethic, and I'm so honored to that. And something I've expanded into about parenting and my parents. The parents have a journey of their own, and we had 5 kids in our family, so there was 5 other things. There was always something going on. But my parents taught us how to work and how to have a good work ethic, and I'm forever grateful for that. And I'm really grateful for my family. And as my family as the family opened up and we was together a lot and we started really expanding together, I really realized in the last few years how great my family was. And growing up on the farm ranch operation, you got to learn about the livestock and different things, but I had some great aunts and uncles and cousins that lived nearby. And that is where life really become a new adventure for me, because my uncles, I had 2 uncles that were close, Uncle John and Uncle Ray, and they were very good people. Uncle Ray, I worked for him right out of high school and even last year of high school, and he taught me a lot of things about life. And my Uncle John, he was a quiet guy and he kind of smiled, but when Uncle John spoke, you listened, because he is a very wise man. Uncle Ray, he was kind of an entrepreneur and a real good person. My dad, he was straightforward, and he was a real hard worker, but he was also very stern. And my mom, she worked at the state reformatory for 31 years. And they kind of thought that was because of some of us kids, and the other kids were easy. She's probably just hoping I wouldn't end up there. And that's a true statement. I was a little bit of a wild child, but I was always intrigued by life, I guess you would say. And then I had Aunt Betty. She was just the sweetheart of the world. And you want to talk about a woman that can cook. Whoa, she was a good cook and a great person to be around. Then there was my Aunt Carol. She had a sense of humor that would never quit. And her and I would banter each other, and we was at my cousin's wedding. And we was bantering back and forth, and she says, you know, I'm getting old. What are you going to do when I pass away? I said, I'm going to be simple. I'm going to put a cell phone in your coffin, and I'm going to call you from Earth, and we'll have a conversation. And I thought she was going to die laughing. But as we grew, and we got through that, my uncle had 750 head of cows and 1,200 head of hogs, 1,000 acres of grain, 1,000 acres of corn. And we didn't have all the equipment they had today. We had good equipment. But one thing I can say about working cattle and the hogs and all that, working cattle and working livestock teaches you to be alert and look around and always be alert to what's happening, because they're always trying to do something, or they're always doing something. And we had 750 head of cows and all the hogs, but we had a technique, and I learned individualism by working cattle. We had 750 head. We had them all numbered, but we'd never use the numbers. We'd describe them like, we'd say that it's a Hereford cow with a line back, and she had this and this. And they were all Hereford cows, but we understood the individualism. And that really taught me how to look at life and the individualism of everything in life. So as I expanded through this, and one thing about working cattle, you wanted to be alert, because when we was walking across the cattle yard, there was a good chance one of them was going to be putting us in a hay rack or in some place to hide behind, because they all work for AT&T. They like to reach out and touch you. But it really is a way to grow up and be alert, and it really helps you in the real life, because you start looking around, paying attention to things you never normally do. Then I turned 21. I went to the oil field in Wyoming. The oil field is a cold, let's go. And also one more thing about working cattle. We used to have 2 farms, and we had one cow. I'll never forget her. She led the cows north, and she led the cows south. We had to drive them 10 miles both ways, and we had 5 sections up on the north side that we run them in all summer. But this cow would lead them up north, and she knew what her job was. She got in front, and she took them home, and she took them up north to the pasture. But one year we kind of messed up, and we let a snowstorm catch us, and we had to leave the cows up there. And that morning we got in the saddles, it was below zero. That was a very, very refreshing day. But the interesting part of that is your feet would be cold and everything would be cold. Then you get off and walk to warm your feet up, and that 1,200-pound horse with shoes on wanted to walk real close to you. That's when you learn how to dance and keep them away. And now we go to the oil field. That's 21. Going from the farm to the oil field was unique. But the oil field there's no heart in the oil field. It was all about money. And whatever it took to do that, it was all about money. But it matured me, because you worked in the snow, you worked in the cold, you worked in the rain. You moved them oil rigs, because them oil rigs had to do. But what it really taught me, the oil field did, is how to work with big machinery, because everything in the oil field was very, very heavy. And everybody thinks you're quick. Well, that heavy iron, you never had a chance. And we was only there about 6 months, and a friend of mine, he got killed in a oil field accident. But what this all taught me was life, money and life in the oil field didn't go together, but off the job, they were the best people in the world. But I got to travel and visit all over the place in Wyoming and the western half of the United States, and that was good. But I remember that one rig we moved, it was Cyclone 2, and it was a 62 below wind chill that day because they had a spud date. Spud date is when you have to be 6 foot in the ground by midnight. We moved it and got it all set up. Everything went good. But the grand part of all this is I got to spend 3 weeks in Jackson Hole in the summertime. And there's no place more beautiful than Jackson Hole in the summertime. But the oil field taught me how it matured me. And that's one thing I can say I was really grateful about the oil field. I met some of the most dynamic people in the oil field. One thing I can say about the people I worked with, driving truck, that was the most, there was 40 of us, and that was the best people I've ever worked with. They were straightforward, but I've never hung with people like that before. We all 40 did everything together, and that's what was so nice about that. And as we do this, we move up here, and the world just expands for us. And really, it just expanded me, and it gave me kind of a stand-up stature, because in the oil field you had to stand up for yourself, and I'm very grateful for that. But in 83, the oil field died. In 85, I left the oil field and went to electrical school in Colorado. Then I graduated from electrical school and moved to Everett, Washington, and that's where I began the electrical trade. One thing I can say about electricity, it mirrors life. It mirrors an outcome. You can't see it, but you can see the outcome of it. Because when a light turns on, but electricity is kind of it's very unique because it gives you power that you can't see, just like your inner self. But one thing the electricity did for me in the electrical trade is it really honed me in on being more alert to myself after I got into the personal growth and stuff like that. Because in 1997, I was working in Portland, Oregon. My life was not where I wanted it, and it was all pretty much on a slowdown. And then I got into a home-based business in 97. And they pushed personal growth. And I stopped after the year I quit drinking in 98. I never had a beer since 1998. But in 1997, I got into that personal growth and I really started. The business wasn't very, it was a failure on the surface, but a success internally. And that's like life. You're going to fail your way to success. And that's what I learned through this home-based business. And then I wrote a book in 2000, and then I went to coaching school. And I was using the change, heal, create, and do all this, change your thinking, do all that, and I never went anywhere. And I just kept working in the electrical trade and kept going. In 2000, I started 2009, I started a radio show. And on that radio show, I discovered the word expand. And then I worked all the way through and got into the expand, energize, enterprise, and experience life. Then my life started to move forward. Because change is pain, expand is grand. And then I started opening up and I started understanding how empowering words were and how the words was taught was a docile dialogue inside me. And the more docile it was, the more discouraging words I used inside. And as I opened up to this, and in 2012, I made a CD called Letting Go. And I was making that CD, and I started using the word expand and meditation and things like that. I really opened myself up. And that's when in 2000, I think it was 12, I started writing my personal growth in first person, and I started using my address, confess, bless, and express method. And that's where I addressed everything in me, confessed it to myself, expressed it to the world, and blessed it for being part of my life. Then I confessed it to the world. Now I realize the more I write in first person and express my inner barriers to the world, I free me and the world. And as I liberate the world, I liberate everybody. And that is where my life is. And now I've written 3 books and published 3 books in the last 5 months. One is called Dissolving Ancient Anger, How Did I Teach Myself Fear, and I Am Wisdom. Plus I've wrote more books before that. But the thing I've expanded into now is ungoverned, animated inspiration. Negativity is a mindset from beliefs, opinions, viewpoints, and things like that. I'm going to do a show next Monday on there is no negativity in the world. There's only negativity in a mindset. People have negativity. But what I'm really saying, opened up to in the last 8 months is you got to have it's about opening up to expressing a vocabulary above your thinking mind and get unto the omnipotence of your right side, or the bright side of your brain power and brain prowess. Stop using the word mind and open up to the brain power and the brain prowess, the gut gumption, the divine spine connection, and really take the thinking out of your life, because you stink in the think of the overthink, then you think out on your dreams. Your dreams are your true talent. That's what I've learned on this journey. And I am Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. My books are available at howdiditeachmyselffear.com, www.amazon.com/author/Robert A. Wilson. My website is http://mycowboywisdom.com. It's just mycowboywisdom.com. And my email is robert@mycowboywisdom.com. I am a hypnotherapist, dream sculptor, but I also have something called an action visionary vocabulary that actually allows you to expand your life, energize your inner wise, entrepreneurialize your enterprise, your life, and experience life with galvanized gusto. And I am Robert A. Wilson, and thank you for being here, and we'll see you Thursday night. We're going to talk about my book, How Did I Teach Myself Fear?